Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if Ben 10 became a full-time plumber. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The Badge and the Watch. The Plumber Academy graduation ceremony wrapped up with zero fanfare. No caps thrown in the air. No cheering crowds. Just 47 newly minted intergalactic peace officers standing at attention as Magister Hulka gave his final address. Remember your training. Remember your oath. Most importantly, remember that the universe doesn't care about your feelings, your excuses, or your alien watch. Hulka's eyes locked onto Ben Tennyson for that last part. Dismissed. Ben exhaled as the formation broke. 6 grueling weeks of accelerated plumber training completed. Sure, he'd been fighting aliens since he was 10, but the bureaucracy, protocols, and paperwork. That was the real nightmare. Congratulations, Ben. Rook Blanco approached, his proto-tool strapped to his back, blue fur perfectly groomed as always. Though I must say, I'm surprised you maintained perfect attendance. What, you thought I'd bail? Ben grinned, adjusting the Omnitrix on his wrist. Come on, partner, you should know me better than that. I know you've skipped 17 mandatory briefings in the past year alone. That was different. I wasn't officially a plumber then. Besides, I was usually busy, saving the world. Rook's mouth twitched in what passed for a smile. And now? Now I'm saving the world with a badge to back it up. Ben flashed his shiny new plumber badge. After years of having honorary status, the real thing felt heavier somehow. More important. Grandpa Max approached, pride evident in his eyes despite his attempt at professional distance. Officer Tennyson. Ready for your first official assignment. Born ready. Ben puffed out his chest, then dropped the formality. So what are we dealing with? Incursions? Techodon robots? Please tell me it's not the Forever Knights again. Series of tech thefts across Bellwood. Started small, power coupling here, fusion cell there. Latest hit was a prototype quantum accelerator from the university. Rook perked up. That is most concerning. A quantum accelerator could be modified to create a temporal displacement device or a really awesome go-kart, Ben cut in. Either way, sounds like our kind of problem. Max handed them a data pad. Full briefings on here. I've authorized you to use the Proto-TRUK. And Ben? His expression softened momentarily. Your parents wanted to throw you a graduation party tonight. Ben's face fell. Tonight? But we've got alien tech thieves to catch. Which is exactly what I told them. Duty comes first. Max placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. I promised them dinner next weekend instead. That work for you? Yeah, perfect. Ben nodded, already scanning the briefing. Mom's going to freak when she sees the uniform, isn't she? Your mother is, adjusting to your career choice. Give her time. Ben knew what that meant. Sandra Tennyson had nearly blown a gasket when he announced he was skipping college to join the plumbers full-time. The Omnitrix doesn't need a degree, Mom, probably wasn't his most diplomatic argument. We should get moving, Rook said. The theft pattern indicates the perpetrators may strike again tonight. Right. Crime doesn't wait for family dinner. Ben clapped his hands together. So, where to first? The Proto-TRUK hovered above Bellwood, cloaking tech engaged as Rook piloted them toward the industrial district. 3 of the 5 thefts occurred within this 2-mile radius, Rook explained, bringing up a holographic map. The pattern suggests they're building something big. Ben leaned forward, studying the map. These aren't random grabs. Look at the components, quantum tech, fusion cells, military-grade power couplings. Someone's shopping for parts. Rook. Raised an eyebrow. I'm impressed, Ben. That's exactly what the analysis concluded. Hey, I've been doing this hero thing for almost 8 years. I pick stuff up. Ben pointed to a blinking dot on the map. What's that place? Gigatech Industries. They specialize in experimental energy containment systems. Perfect next target. Let's stake it out. Rook landed the Proto-TRUK on a rooftop with a clear view of Gigatech's main facility. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the industrial complex as they settled in for surveillance. So, Ben said after 20 minutes of silence, this is officially our first mission as full Plumber partners. No more Ben, the honorary member with the Alien Watch. Does it feel different? Rook asked. Ben considered this, rubbing his thumb over his badge. Yeah, actually. It does. He looked out over the city, his city. Before, I was just a kid with the Omnitrix who helped out. Now you've chosen this as your path. Rook nodded. It is a worthy calling. Yeah, well, don't tell Gwen that. She still thinks I'm wasting my potential. Your cousin is attending an elite university. Her perspective is understandable. I guess. Ben frowned. We used to be a team, you know. Me, Gwen, Kevin. Now she's all about college, and Kevin's got his business. And I'm just, continuing what I've always done. With proper training and authorization now, Rook pointed out. Right. Super official now. Ben stretched, then froze. Hold up. Movement at the east entrance. Rook's enhanced vision zoomed in. I see 3 figures. Humanoid, but definitely not human. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through aliens. Time to introduce ourselves. The official Plumber way. Which means identifying ourselves and giving them a chance to surrender peacefully, Rook reminded him. Sure. After I make a dramatic entrance as Humongosaur. But Ben had already slammed down on the Omnitrix dial. Green light flashed, and where Ben had stood, a slender, blue-skinned alien now hovered. Seriously? XLR-8? I wanted something with more punch. Speed will be useful for surrounding them, Rook said, already extending his proto-tool into staff mode. I'll take the front entrance. You circle around and cut off their escape. XLR-8 saluted with a clawed hand. On it, partner. He zoomed away, a blur of motion down the side of the building. Rook fired a grappling line and swung toward Gigatech's main entrance, landing silently on the concrete. He approached cautiously, proto-tool ready. Through his earpiece, he heard XLR-8's voice. 3 targets confirmed. Look like, wait, I know these guys. They're Arjit's crew. Arjit? Rook whispered back. The informant with the quills. Yeah, but he usually sticks to small-time scams. This is way above his pay grade. As XLR-8 rounded the corner, he spotted 3 aliens loading equipment into a hover truck. One was a bulky Tetraman, another a skinny Galvan, and the third a species he didn't recognize, squid-like with too many eyes. Freeze. Plumbers. XLR-8 skidded to a halt in front of them, visor down, arms crossed. The Tetraman dropped a crate, 4 eyes widening. It's Tennyson. That's Officer Tennyson now, XLR-8 corrected, pointing to the plumber badge on his chest. And you're stealing quantum tech, which is about 6 levels above your usual pawn shop heists. What gives? The Galvan squeaked, we're just making a delivery. With a disabled security system and bolt cutters. XLR-8 zipped forward, disarming the Tetraman before he could reach for a weapon. Try again. The squid alien suddenly sprayed ink, directly into XLR-8's face. Scatter, it gurgled to its companions. Blinded, XLR-8 spun in circles. Gross. Seriously gross. The Omnitrix timed out, and Ben was back, wiping black goo from his eyes. "Oh come on." Rook's voice came through his earpiece, "2 heading west. 1 eastbound with cargo. On it." Ben activated the Omnitrix again, slamming down on the first silhouette. Green light flashed, and Jet Ray took to the sky. Much better. Soaring above Gigatech, he spotted the squid alien slithering away with a container strapped to its tentacles. Jet Ray dive-bombed, firing neuroshock blasts that struck the ground around the alien. "Drop the tech and surrender," Jet Ray called. "Trust me, you don't want to do this the hard way." The squid alien gargled something unintelligible and ducked into a drainage pipe. Jet Ray landed, transforming back to Ben. "Why do they always run?" He tapped his badge. "Rook, got one cornered in the drainage system east side." "I've apprehended the Tetramand," Rook replied. "The Galvan escaped. I'm sending the coordinates for backup to seal the drainage exits." Ben peered into the dark pipe. "No time. He's got whatever they came to steal." He activated the Omnitrix again. "Going in." This time, the transformation yielded goop, whose amorphous body easily flowed into the drainage pipe. The glowing anti-gravity projector illuminated the tunnel as Goop pursued the squid alien. "You know," Goop's voice bubbled, "in my first week as a full plumber, I really didn't want to spend time in the sewers." The drainage pipe opened into a larger tunnel. Goop oozed forward cautiously, his projector casting eerie green light across the curved walls. A sudden movement to his left was all the warning he got before tentacles wrapped around his anti-gravity projector. "Hey! Let go of that." Goop's body wavered as the squid alien tugged at his projector. "That's literally holding me together, dude." The squid alien gargled something that sounded suspiciously like laughter. With a powerful yank, it separated the projector from Goop's main mass, sending the green alien splashing to the tunnel floor. "Not cool." Goop struggled to reform, reaching tendrils toward his projector. The squid alien backed away, still clutching both the projector and the stolen tech. Then, something unexpected happened. Tiny silver dots swarmed from the shadows, surrounding the squid alien in a glittering cloud. The alien writhed, dropping both the projector and the stolen component as the silver particles enveloped its tentacles. Goop's projector automatically flew back, allowing him to reform properly. "What the?" A figure stepped from the shadows. "Wow, Tennyson. First day as a real plumber, and I find you as a puddle in the sewer. Some things never change." Goop squinted, then recognition hit. "Elena?" Elena Validus stood before him, dark hair pulled back, wearing tactical gear with no insignia. The silver nanochips swirled around her hand, responding to subtle finger movements as they restrained the squid alien. "The one and only." She smirked. "You gonna stand there dripping, or you gonna arrest this guy?" The Omnitrix timed out, leaving Ben human again. He quickly pulled out containment cuffs, securing the squid alien while eyeing Elena warily. "Last time I saw you, you were." He trailed off, not sure how to politely say, "A nanochip queen trying to kill my girlfriend." "Crazy? Obsessive? Dissolved into a swarm of chips?" Elena supplied, raising an eyebrow. "I got better. I can see that." Ben activated his badge. "Rook, I've apprehended the third suspect. And, I've got an old friend here you should meet." Back at Plumber HQ, Ben and Rook watched through one-way glass as Magister Patelladay interrogated the captured thieves. "So Arjit hired them," Ben said, arms crossed. "But Arjit's working for someone else, this collector guy." "That's what the Tetraman claims," Rook agreed. "Though he insists they don't know the collector's identity or purpose." "They're small time," Elena said, leaning against the wall behind them. "Just pawns." Ben turned to her. "And what's your interest in all this? You're not exactly plumber material these days." "Information broker," she replied, examining her nails casually. The tiny nanochips visible under her skin glinted in the light. I track things, I find things, I sell information to people who need it. Sometimes that includes the plumbers. Since when? Ben asked skeptically. Since I learned to control the chips. Instead of letting them control me. She straightened. Look, I've been tracking tech thefts across 3 states. They're connected. This collector is gathering components for something big. Rook studied her. And you're sharing this information because whatever they're building, it's bad news for everyone. Including me. She pulled out a data pad. These are all the components stolen in the last 6 months that match the pattern. Notice anything? Ben and Rook leaned in, examining the list. These aren't just random tech grabs, Ben said slowly. They're all specialized for energy manipulation and DNA scanning. DNA scanning? Rook's eyes widened. Like technology used to analyze the Omnitrix. Elena nodded. That's my guess. Someone's very interested in replicating certain functions of Ben's watch. Ben unconsciously covered the Omnitrix with his other hand. Wouldn't be the first time. He looked at Elena suspiciously. How do we know you're not involved? You've got plenty of reason to be interested in the Omnitrix yourself. She rolled her eyes. Please. If I wanted the Omnitrix, I'd have taken it while you were a helpless puddle back there. She stepped closer, and Ben noticed the nanochips under her skin pulsing slightly. I've moved past my issues. I'm offering help because this collector is dangerous, and dangerous things tend to end up threatening the planet I live on. Rook cleared his throat. Perhaps we should continue this discussion with Magister Tennyson. Agreed, Ben said, not taking his eyes off Elena. If you're really playing it straight now, you won't mind briefing our commanding officer. Elena smiled. Lead the way, Officer Tennyson. Grandpa Max's office hadn't changed much over the years, still cluttered with strange artifacts, alien plant specimens, and at least 3 different coffee mugs growing questionable cultures. The man himself sat behind his desk, fingers steepled as he considered Elena's information. So you believe this collector is targeting Omnitrix technology, he said finally. Elena nodded. The pattern fits. And it's not just any tech, it's specifically components that could be used to analyze, perhaps even replicate, the DNA scanning and storage capabilities. What I don't get, Ben interjected, is why use losers like Arjit's crew. Someone after this kind of tech usually has better resources. Misdirection, Rook suggested. Using disposable assets keeps attention away from the true mastermind. Classic villain move, Ben agreed. So what's our next step? Max leaned back. We follow procedure. Analyze the evidence, identify likely targets, set up surveillance. While the collector gets closer to whatever they're building. Ben shook his head. We need to be proactive. Hit Arjit, make him talk. And we will, Max assured him, through proper channels. Elena snorted. By which time the trail will be cold. This isn't how you operated when I was younger, Max. Things change. We have protocols won't catch this guy. Ben stood up. Grandpa, you know I respect the plumbers, but sometimes we need to move fast. Max studied his grandson, then sighed. You've got 24 hours. Unofficial. Find Arjit, see what he knows, but do not engage the collector if you identify them. Reconnaissance only. Clear. Ben grinned. Crystal. And take Elena with you, Max added, surprising everyone. She's been tracking this longer than we have. I work alone these days, Elena protested. Not on this, Max said firmly. Consider it a consultation fee. We'll provide plumber resources, you provide your expertise. Elena and Ben exchanged glances, years of complicated history passing between them. Fine, she conceded. But I call the shots on my intel. And I call the shots on the mission, Ben countered. Plumber authority. Actually, Rook interjected, as the senior officer present, I would be in command. Ben and Elena both stared at him. But I recognize Ben's experience with these types of situations, Rook added diplomatically. It's settled then, Max said, standing. Find Arjit, find what the collector wants, report back. No heroics. Ben gave a mock salute. No promises. Undertown hadn't changed much, still the alien underground market buzzing with activity at all hours. Ben, Rook, and Elena made their way through the crowded streets, drawing stares from the alien residents. Arjit usually hangs out at the Black Hole Bar, Ben said, nodding toward a dingy establishment ahead. Unless he's moved up in the world since last time. Doubtful, Elena remarked. Guys like Arjit find their level and stay there. Rook adjusted his proto-tool on his shoulder. I suggest a subtle approach. Arjit will run at the first sign of plumbers. Leave it to me, Ben said confidently, activating the Omnitrix. Time for an old favorite. The green flash subsided, revealing a crystalline form. Diamond head. Perfect for intimidating informants. Elena facepalmed. So much for subtle. Trust me, with Arjit, intimidation works better than subtlety. Diamond Head strode toward the bar entrance. Rook sighed, following. This is not standard plumber procedure. Welcome to working with Ben, Elena muttered. Inside the black hole, various alien species huddled over drinks and shady deals. The bartender, a four-armed Tetramand, tensed at the sight of Diamond Head's plumber badge gleaming on his chest. We're looking for Arjit, Diamond Head announced, voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. Anyone seen him lately? Silence. Then a shuffling sound from the back corner. Diamond Head grinned. There you are. Arjit, a rat-like alien with quills, was attempting to squeeze through a small service exit. He froze when crystalline shards embedded themselves in the wall around him. Hey, Ben. Arjit turned with a forced grin. Long time no see, buddy. You're looking official these days. Cut the act, Arjit. Diamond Head approached, the floor crystallizing beneath his feet. We know about the tech thefts. We know about the collector. Arjit's quills stood on end. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a legitimate businessman now. Elena stepped forward, nanochips swirling around her fingertips. Remember me, Arjit? Chip girl. Arjit yelped, backing against the wall. Okay. Maybe I arranged some acquisitions for a client. It's just business. Rook grabbed Arjit by the scruff of his neck. Who is the collector? What are they building? I don't know. I swear. Arjit's eyes darted between them frantically. The guy only contacts me through secure channels. Pays triple market rate for specific tech. I just put together the shopping list and hire the muscle. Diamond Head leaned in. Not good enough, Arjit. We need a name. I don't have a name. Just an account number and drop-off coordinates. Arjit squirmed in Rook's grip. Look, the next delivery is tonight. Storage facility on the edge of town. I'll give you the address. Just let me go before he finds out I snitched. The Omnitrix timed out, and Ben returned to human form. The collector has you that scared? That's new. This guy isn't like the lowlifes you usually deal with, Tennyson. Arjit lowered his voice. Word is, he's got some personal vendetta against the plumbers. Some say he used to be one. Ben exchanged glances with Rook. A rogue plumber? I'm just telling you what I heard. Arjit insisted. Now are we done? 'Cause I got places to be that aren't anywhere near you three. Rook released him. The coordinates. Now. Arjit quickly tapped them into Rook's data pad. There. Storage Unit 10B. Midnight tonight. Now I'm gone. Before any of them could react, Arjit fired quills in all directions. Rook and Ben ducked, but Elena merely stood still, her nanochips forming a shield that caught the quills midair. Show off, Ben muttered as Arjit scurried away through the service exit. Effective, she corrected. So, midnight stakeout? Looks like it. Ben checked his watch, the regular one, not the Omnitrix. We've got 6 hours to kill. Anyone hungry? Mr. Smoothie hadn't changed either. Same garish colors, same questionable flavor combinations, same plastic tables where Ben had spent countless afternoons throughout his teen years. I can't believe you still drink those, Elena remarked, watching Ben slurp his coconut carrot chili concoction. Hey, they've added 14 new flavors since you left town. Ben offered her the cup. Wanna try? I'll pass. She poked at her salad. Rook had left to file a preliminary report, leaving the two of them in awkward nostalgia. So. Ben set down his smoothie. The nanochips. You're controlling them now. Elena nodded, holding up her hand where silver particles shifted beneath her skin. After our last encounter, I realized I needed to fix things, not keep making the same mistakes. That's surprisingly mature. I had a good example. She met his eyes. You never gave up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. Ben shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, well, that's what heroes do, right? No. That's what Ben Tennyson does. She smiled slightly. How's Julie? We broke up. Years ago. Ben stirred his smoothie. Long-distance thing didn't work out after she went pro with tennis. Sorry to hear that. It's fine. We're still friends. Ben changed the subject. So, information broker, huh? Seems like a convenient cover for someone with your abilities. Elena's expression hardened. It's not a cover. It's survival. The chips make me valuable, but also a target. I trade information, stay moving, keep under the radar. And occasionally help the plumbers. When it serves my interests. She leaned forward. This collector isn't just after Omnitrix tech, Ben. They're gathering components for something specifically designed to counter it. To counter you. Ben frowned. How do you know that? Because 3 months ago, someone tried to buy information from me about your fighting patterns, transformation preferences, reaction times. She tapped her fingers on the table. I didn't sell. Wow, I'm touched, Ben said sarcastically, then softened. Seriously though, thanks. Don't thank me yet. We still don't know who the collector is or what exactly they're building. Elena checked her watch. We should get moving. I want to scout the location before tonight. As they stood to leave, Ben's phone buzzed. The screen displayed Gwen calling with a photo of his cousin making a face at the camera. I should take this. He answered as they walked to his car. Hey, cuz. What's up? Ben. Gwen's voice came through clearly. I've been trying to reach you all day. Don't you check your messages? Been kinda busy with official plumber business, Ben said, unable to keep the pride from his voice. First day on the job and all. Right, the job. Gwen's tone cooled. Noticeably. That's actually why I'm calling. Kevin and I found something weird at the university. Ben put the phone on speaker as he and Elena got into his car. Weird how? Someone broke into the quantum physics lab last night. The security system was fried with some kind of tech Kevin's never seen before. Let me guess, they stole a quantum accelerator component. How did you know? Gwen asked, surprised. Because we've been tracking those thefts all day. Ben started the car. Where are you now? Kevin's garage. We've been analyzing residual energy signatures from the break-in. We'll be there in 20. Ben hung up and glanced at Elena. Change of plans. We're making a quick stop. Elena raised an eyebrow. The famous Team Tennyson back together again. This should be interesting. Kevin's garage had evolved from a simple mechanics workshop to a high-tech operation specializing in customized alien technology. The sign out front read, Levin Tech, specializing in the extraordinary, a legitimate business that still somehow managed to skirt the edges of legality. Ben pulled up outside, suddenly nervous. He hadn't seen Gwen or Kevin in almost 2 months, not since the argument about his decision to join the Plumbers full-time. They're not going to be happy to see me, Elena noted as they approached the door. Join the club, Ben muttered, knocking. The door swung open to reveal Kevin Levin, still in grease-stained work clothes, his dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. His eyes widened at the sight of them. Tennyson. Then, with considerably more surprise, Validus? What the hell? Nice to see you too, Kevin, Elena replied dryly. She's helping with a case, Ben explained quickly. Plumber consultant. It's all official. Kevin looked skeptical but stepped aside. Whatever. Gwen's in the back. They followed him through the workshop, past half-assembled engines and alien tech in various states of modification. In the back room, surrounded by holographic displays, stood Gwen Tennyson. Her red hair was shorter now, her college sweatshirt a stark contrast to Ben's plumber uniform. Ben. She smiled, then froze when she saw Elena. What is she doing here? Hello to you too, Gwen, Elena said coolly. Ben stepped between them. Elena's been tracking the same tech thefts we're investigating. She's helping us find the guy behind it, someone called the Collector. And you trust her? Gwen's eyes glowed slightly pink, her anodite powers responding to her emotions. I don't need her to trust me, Elena cut in. I need her to be smart enough to recognize we have a common problem. Enough, Kevin interrupted. You want to see what we found or not? Ben nodded gratefully. Show us. Kevin activated a holographic display showing molecular structures. This is residue from the lab break-in. Not from any tech I've ever seen. It's like, living metal. Elena stepped forward, studying the display. Nanites. Advanced ones. Like your chips? Ben asked. She shook her head. Different architecture. More sophisticated. Military grade. Military? Gwen frowned. Earth military doesn't have tech this advanced. Not Earth, Elena agreed. This looks like Galvan design, but modified. Kevin crossed his arms. So someone's using alien nanite tech to steal parts for some Omnitrix-killing weapon? Great. Who'd you piss off this time, Tennyson? Why assume it's something I did? Ben protested. Historical precedent, Gwen and Kevin said simultaneously. According to Arjit, the Collector might be a former plumber with a grudge, Ben informed them. We're staking out a delivery tonight. Storage facility on Route 16. We're coming with you, Gwen said immediately. Ben hesitated. It's an official plumber operation. Oh please. Gwen rolled her eyes. Like that stopped any of us before. Besides, Kevin added, I've got gear that can track those nanites if they show up again. Ben looked at Elena, who shrugged. More hands make lighter work. Fine, Ben conceded. But I'm in charge. Officially. Kevin snorted. Sure you are, Tennyson. The storage facility sat isolated on the outskirts of Bellwood, rows of identical metal units bathed in security lighting. Ben, Rook, Gwen, Kevin, and Elena crouched behind Kevin's car, surveying the scene. Unit 10B is on the far side, Rook said, checking his scanner. No movement detected yet. We've got 2 hours until the scheduled drop, Ben noted. Let's get in position. I've got something better in mind. Kevin placed a device on the ground that projected a dome of energy around them. One-way cloaking field. We can see out, they can't see in. Not standard plumber equipment, Rook observed disapprovingly. Which is why plumbers call me when they need the good stuff, Kevin replied with a smirk. Ben activated his Omnitrix. I'll take high ground as Big Chill. Invisible, intangible, perfect for recon. I'll monitor thermal signatures, Rook said, adjusting his proto-tool. Gwen and I can take opposite corners, Kevin suggested, absorbing metal from his car to armor up. Elena? I'll send nanochip scouts. She opened her palm, releasing a stream of tiny silver dots that scattered into the night. They'll alert us to any approach. Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix, transforming into the ghostly blue alien he'd requested. Big Chill. Good. Everyone stay on comms. No heroics. That's rich coming from you, Gwen muttered. Big Chill merely grinned his eerie smile and phased through the ground, reappearing atop the storage facility's roof. From this vantage point, he could see the entire complex. All clear from above, he reported through his communicator. The team split up, taking their positions around Unit 10B. Minutes ticked by in tense silence. This is weird, Kevin's voice crackled over the comms. If this is a drop site, where's the security? Perhaps they believe discretion is more effective than force, Rook suggested. Or it's a trap, Gwen added grimly. Elena's voice cut in suddenly. Movement from the east entrance. Vehicle approaching, no headlights. Big Chill watched as a black van glided silently into the complex, its electric engine barely audible. It stopped outside Unit 10B, but no one exited. Something's not right, Big Chill murmured. They're just sitting there. Suddenly, Elena's voice turned urgent. Ben, my chips are detecting nanite activity inside the van. Massive surge. Before Big Chill could respond, the van's metal skin began to ripple and flow, transforming before their eyes. It stretched and reconfigured, forming a humanoid shape that towered 15 feet tall. It's not a van. Big Chill shouted. It's some kind of nanite construct. The metal giant's featureless face swiveled, scanning the area. Its arm extended, forming a cannon that fired a pulse of energy directly at Big Chill's position. Big Chill went intangible just in time, the blast passing harmlessly through him. So much for the element of surprise. Everyone, move in. The night erupted into chaos. Gwen threw up mana shields as the giant fired in her direction. Kevin, fully armored, charged straight at its legs. Rook unleashed a barrage from his proto-tool, while Elena directed her nanochips to swarm the construct. Big Chill swooped down, exhaling freezing breath across the giant's torso. Ice crystals formed, but the nanites simply reconfigured, shedding the frozen layer. Physical attacks aren't working. Rook called out. It's adapting. The giant suddenly split into 5 smaller constructs, each targeting a different team member. The one facing Big Chill morphed its arm into a flamethrower, blasting heat that forced him to retreat. It knows our weaknesses. Big Chill realized, dodging another heat blast. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest beeped in warning, then flashed green. No, not now. Ben dropped to the ground, human again. Worst timing ever. The nanite construct loomed over him, arm reforming into a blade. Ben rolled away from its downward strike, activating the Omnitrix again. Come on, give me something good. He slammed down on the dial. Green light flashed, and Echo stood in Ben's place, not exactly the powerhouse he'd hoped for. Echo. Against a metal giant? Seriously? The construct swung again. Echo multiplied into 5 copies, each running in different directions. Split up, they called in their electronic voice. Across the compound, the battle wasn't going well. Gwen's mana shields were weakening against the relentless attacks of her nanite opponent. Kevin's armor was being systematically stripped away by his. Rook was pinned down behind a storage unit. Only Elena seemed to be holding her own, her nanochips engaging the enemy nanites in microscopic warfare. Ben! Gwen called out. We need a plan. The Echo duplicates regrouped behind a row of storage units. Sound disruption, they said in unison. Nanites communicate using specific frequencies. If we can disrupt that communication. Rook began. They'll lose cohesion. Elena finished. Ben, I can match my chips to counter their frequency if I can get a clear reading. The Echo copies nodded. We'll give you cover. Everyone else, keep them distracted. They split again, surrounding the largest nanite construct. Taking deep breaths, all 5 Echoes unleashed their sonic scream at once, directing the sound waves at the metal giant. The construct staggered, its form wavering as the sound disrupted its cohesion. Elena sprinted forward, hands outstretched, her nanochips swarming around the destabilizing giant. Got it, she shouted over the sonic barrage. Frequency isolated. Countering now. Her nanochips glowed blue, emitting their own signal that clashed with the enemy nanites. The effect was immediate, the giant began to collapse, its form unable to maintain integrity under the dual assault. It's working. Gwen called, reinforcing Elena's position with a mana shield. The smaller constructs began to falter as well, their movements becoming erratic. Kevin seized the opportunity to smash through one, scattering its nanites. Rook's proto-tool fired an electromagnetic pulse that disabled another. In moments, the battlefield was littered with inert nanite clusters. The Echoes stopped screaming, merging back into a single form before the Omnitrix timed out again. Ben dropped to his knees, exhausted. Everyone okay? Alive, Kevin grunted, his armor badly damaged. Not exactly okay. Rook approached one of the nanite piles, scanning it with his proto-tool. Fascinating technology. More advanced than anything in the Plumber database. Elena knelt beside Ben. You good? Yeah. He stood shakily. Nice teamwork back there. Just like old times, Gwen said, joining them. Minus the part where Elena tried to kill us all. Gwen, Ben warned. Elena just shrugged. Fair enough. But I saved your butts tonight, so maybe we're even. Kevin kicked at the nanite remains. So much for finding the collector. This was just another trap. Not necessarily, Rook interrupted, holding up his scanner. These nanites are transmitting a signal. Encrypted, but detectable. Can we track it? Ben asked eagerly. With the right equipment, yes. Rook looked at Kevin. Your workshop would have what we need. Kevin nodded. Yeah, but it'll take time to crack the encryption. Then let's move, Ben said decisively. Before whoever's controlling these things sends reinforcement. As they gathered the nanite samples, Ben's plumber badge beeped. Grandpa Max's voice came through, sounding tense. Ben, report in. We're picking up unusual energy signatures at your location. Little late, Grandpa, Ben replied. We just took down some kind of nanite robot. Definitely connected to our case. Return to headquarters immediately, Max ordered. This just got elevated to a priority alpha situation. Ben frowned. What's going on? The quantum tech thefts aren't isolated to Earth. Reports are coming in from Plumber outposts across 3 sectors. Whatever the collector is planning, it's bigger than we thought. Ben looked at his team, Rook, professional as always, Gwen and Kevin, despite their disagreements, ready for action, and Elena, an unexpected ally with her own mysterious agenda. We're on our way, he said. And Grandpa? We've got a lead on the collector's tech. It's definitely designed to target the Omnitrix. Max was silent for a moment. All the more reason to proceed carefully, Ben. This feels personal. Good, Ben replied, his expression hardening. Because now it's personal for me too. Plumber headquarters buzzed with activity as screens displayed reports from across the galaxy. Ben and the others stood in the command center, still bearing the marks of their recent battle. Magister Patelade pointed to a galactic map with highlighted sectors. Tech thefts matching the pattern you've been tracking have occurred on 6 different planets in the past month. Always targeting quantum technology, energy manipulation systems, and DNA sequencers. And always using advanced nanite infiltrators, Grandpa Max added, examining a sample Kevin had brought back. This isn't the work of some small-time operator. This is a coordinated campaign. But to what end? Rook wondered. If the goal is to neutralize the Omnitrix, why operate on such a scale? Because the Omnitrix isn't just a watch, Gwen said thoughtfully. It's connected to Primus, the repository of all DNA samples. To truly counter it would require technology that could interface with that entire system. Ben frowned. So the Collector isn't just after me, they're after everything the Omnitrix represents. It appears so, Max confirmed grimly. And based on the components they've gathered, they're close to completing whatever device they're building. Elena, who had been quietly studying the data, suddenly straightened. I think I know where to look next. She pulled up a star chart. If I were building something to counter Galvan technology, I'd need specific rare elements found only in the mining colonies of the Rigelian system. How do you know that? Gwen asked suspiciously. Information broker, remember? Elena tapped the screen. There's a black market trading post in that system specializing in exactly those elements. If the Collector needs those materials, that's where they'll go. Max studied the coordinates. It's outside Plumber jurisdiction. We'd need clearance from 3 different authorities to operate there officially. So we go unofficially, Ben suggested. Absolutely not, Max said firmly. This is exactly the kind of cowboy operation that gets plumbers killed. We do this by the book. While the Collector finishes their weapon. Ben argued. Grandpa, we can't wait for paperwork. The trail is hot now. Ben's right, Kevin interjected, surprising everyone. Red tape won't stop this guy. Action. Will. Max looked at each of them in turn, his expression conflicted. Finally, he sighed. 3 days. I can give you 3 days of special training exercises off-world before questions start getting asked. Ben grinned. That's all we need. I'm sending Rook as the official Plumber representative, Max continued. This is still, technically, a Plumber operation. What about us? Gwen asked, gesturing to herself, Kevin, and Elena. Officially? Consultants. Max's stern expression softened slightly. Unofficially. Watch each other's backs. This Collector has resources, technology, and a vendetta. That's a dangerous combination. When do we leave? Ben asked eagerly. Tomorrow morning. The Rust Bucket 3 is being prepped as we speak. Max placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. This is your first major case as a full plumber, Ben. I know you want to prove yourself, but remember your training. Remember what's at stake. I know, Grandpa. Ben's expression grew serious. I won't let you down. As the others moved to prepare for the mission, Elena hung back, catching Ben's arm. You realize we're walking into another trap, right? Probably, Ben admitted. But this time, we'll be ready. Elena studied him, the nanochips beneath her skin shifting restlessly. You've changed, Tennyson. More focused. Less reckless. Part of the job, Ben said, straightening his plumber uniform. Can't just be the kid with the watch anymore. Good. She smiled slightly. Because I have a feeling the Collector is counting on facing that kid, not the plumber you've become. Ben returned her smile, touching the Omnitrix almost unconsciously. Then they're in for a surprise. Dawn broke over Plumber headquarters as the team loaded the last of their gear onto the Rust Bucket 3, Kevin's modified ship that had carried them through countless adventures. Ben stood at the base of the boarding ramp, saying goodbye to Grandpa Max. 3 days, he promised. We'll find the collector and be back before anyone notices we're gone. Just be careful, Max replied. And remember, this is reconnaissance. Identify the collector, confirm their intentions, then call for backup. Got it. Look but don't touch. Since when have you ever managed that? Max smiled fondly. Ben laughed. Fair point. But I've got the team with me. We'll keep each other in line. Inside the ship, tension simmered. Gwen was pointedly avoiding Elena, busying herself with navigation calculations. Kevin was checking the engines. Rook methodically inspected his proto-tool. Ready for takeoff? Ben asked, boarding. Coordinates set for the Rigelian trading post, Gwen confirmed stiffly. Engines optimal, Kevin added. Should make it there in 18 hours. Ben took the co-pilot seat beside Kevin. Then let's go catch ourselves a collector. As the Rust Bucket 3 rose into the morning sky, Ben couldn't help feeling that this mission marked a turning point. Not just his first case as a full plumber, but something more, a test of whether he could truly balance the responsibility of his badge with the power of his watch. The ship broke atmosphere, stars spreading out before them like scattered diamonds. Somewhere out there, the collector waited with a plan years in the making. But so did Ben Tennyson, no longer just a kid with the most powerful device in the universe, but a plumber sworn to protect it. Hang on, everyone, Kevin called as he engaged the hyperdrive. Next stop, the edge of plumber jurisdiction and the start of real trouble. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the Rust Bucket 3 jumped to hyperspeed, carrying them toward a confrontation that would test Ben's new identity in ways he couldn't yet imagine. The badge and the watch, two symbols of power and responsibility now united on his wrist. Whatever came next, Ben knew one thing for certain, he wasn't facing it alone. Chapter 2, Alien Territory, Duck. Ben shouted, diving behind a crystalline pillar as laser fire streaked past his head. I believe the correct term is, take cover, Rook. Corrected, rolling to Ben's side while returning fire with his proto-tool. 6 months as partners and you're still grammar-checking me in the middle of a firefight? Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix, green light washing over him. Swamp fire. The plant-like alien burst from cover, hurling fireballs at the robotic security drones that had cornered them in the diplomatic wing of Nexus Station, an enormous space installation floating at the edge of neutral space. The drones scattered, their targeting systems recalibrating for the new threat. Those are RX-9 security drones, Rook called out, scanning them with his proto-tool. Programmed with non-lethal response protocols. Swampfire dodged a stun blast, his plant matter regenerating where it had been singed. Tell that to the scorch marks on my chlorophyll. Perhaps they would be more receptive if you hadn't tripped the security system by touching the ceremonial staff of Ravana. It was glowing. I thought it was dangerous. Swampfire stretched his arms, grabbing 2 drones and smashing them together. Besides, this is more fun than standing around watching diplomats argue about trade regulations. Rook sighed, switching his proto-tool to net launcher mode. We are here as security consultants, Ben. Our job is to be unobtrusive and professional. Yeah, well, being professional got boring after the 4th hour of listening to the Apoplexian ambassador threaten to rip everyone's faces off over tariff rates. Swampfire melted the last drone with a concentrated burst of flame, then wiped his hands together in satisfaction as the Omnitrix timed out. Ben Tennyson stood amidst the wreckage, adjusting his plumber uniform with a grin. At 19, he'd grown taller, his shoulders broader, but the gleam of mischief in his green eyes remained unchanged despite 6 months as a full-time plumber. Rook holstered his proto-tool with practiced efficiency. Magister Tennyson will not be pleased when he receives the incident report. Relax, partner. I'll pay for the damages out of my salary. Ben kicked a broken drone. Consider it my contribution to improving station security. These things are way too easy to trash. That is not, Rook began, but was interrupted by the beeping of Ben's plumber badge. Officer Tennyson, came the clipped voice of Commander Dex. Report to the central atrium immediately. The Pisxis delegation has arrived ahead of schedule. On our way, Ben replied, then muttered under his breath, great, fish politicians. Just what this day needed. The Pisxis representative support is crucial for the resolution on restricted technology trade, Rook reminded him as they hurried through the gleaming corridors of Nexus Station. If they side with Earth and its allies, the motion will pass. And the Collector loses access to more components for whatever he's building, Ben finished, his expression turning serious. I know the stakes, Rook. 6 months of chasing dead ends had made the Collector's name a sore point for Ben. After their mission to the Rigelian system had yielded only more questions and traps, the case had officially been reassigned to a special plumber task force. Unofficially, Ben remained obsessed with catching the mysterious figure who seemed to always stay one step ahead. The central atrium of Nexus Station was a marvel of alien engineering, a massive open space where the artificial gravity lessened toward the center, allowing flying species to navigate comfortably while ground dwellers remained secured to the walkways. Holographic displays showed the status of ongoing negotiations, while representatives from 24 worlds mingled in their environmental suits or native forms. Commander Dex stood by the main entrance, tall, imposing in his senior plumber uniform, his reptilian features set in a perpetual scowl. Gray scales covered his face, and a cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on Ben. Officer Tennyson. I heard there was an incident in the Ravana exhibition. His tone made it clear this wasn't a question. Just a little misunderstanding with the security systems, Ben said casually. Nothing I couldn't handle. That misunderstanding cost 17,000 credits in damages. Dex's cybernetic eye narrowed. I'm beginning to understand why Magister Hulka's evaluation described you as uniquely challenging to authority structures. He said that. Ben grinned. I thought he'd go with insubordinate pain in the Pisxis delegation, sir, Rook interrupted smoothly, nodding toward the far entrance where a group of aquatic aliens floated in hover tanks filled with water. Dex straightened. Right. You two are to ensure their safety during the negotiations. No incidents, Tennyson. The Collector's agents have attempted to disrupt these talks twice already. Any new intel on who he is? Ben asked eagerly. Above your clearance, Dex replied curtly. Focus on your assignment. As Dex strode away, Ben frowned. That guy has had it in for me since day one. Commander Dex is highly decorated, Rook said diplomatically. He simply values procedure. He's hiding something. Every time the Collector comes up, he shuts down the conversation. Many senior officers are cautious about sharing sensitive information with field agents. Ben watched Dex's retreating back. Maybe. Or maybe there's another reason he doesn't want us digging too deep. Before Rook could respond, Ben's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, eyebrows shooting up in surprise. No way, he muttered, reading the message. Is something wrong? Rook asked. It's from Gwen. She and Kevin are here. On Nexus Station. That is, unexpected. Your cousin's academic schedule rarely permits interstellar travel. Ben was already typing a reply. She says it's urgent. Something about the Collector. We are on assignment, Ben. We cannot simply, they're at docking bay 7. Ben pocketed his phone and started walking. The Pisxis delegation won't reach the conference room for another 30 minutes. We've got time. Rook sighed but fell into step beside him. I predict with 98% certainty that this will lead to complications. And that's why we're partners, Ben replied cheerfully. You predict the complications, I charge headfirst into them, and somehow it all works out. The statistical improbability of your continued success despite your methodology is a subject I have considered writing a research paper on. Save it for my biography, buddy. Docking Bay 7 housed smaller vessels, mostly courier ships and private transports. Ben spotted Kevin's newest acquisition immediately, a sleek, black spacecraft with modified engines that definitely violated at least 6 different Plumber regulations. Gwen waited at the bottom of the boarding ramp. Her red hair pulled back, wearing civilian clothes rather than her lucky girl outfit. The sight of her made Ben realize how much he'd missed his cousin in the months they'd been apart. Ben. She rushed forward, wrapping him in a quick hug. I wasn't sure you'd get my message. Hard to miss when you're supposed to be taking finals on Earth, Ben replied, returning the hug before stepping back. What's going on? We found something. She lowered her voice. About the collector. Kevin appeared at the top of the ramp, wiping engine grease from his hands. Tennyson. Looking official in that uniform. Looking shady as always, Levin, Ben shot back with a grin. Nice ship. Completely illegal, but nice. Custom job. Kevin patted the hull proudly. Outran a Plumber cruiser last week. I did not hear that, Rook stated firmly. Gwen pulled them toward the ship. We should talk inside. This isn't for public consumption. Once inside Kevin's ship, Gwen activated a holographic display showing complex schematics and data streams. 2 weeks ago, someone tried to hack into the university's quantum physics database, she explained. Not unusual, happens all the time. But this was different. The intrusion patterns matched samples from the nanite constructs you fought 6 months ago. The collector, Ben said, leaning forward. That's what we thought, Kevin continued, bringing up another display. So we set up a trap. Created a dummy database with tracking markers embedded in the data. When the hacker took the bait, we followed the data packets back through 17 relay points, Gwen said. And found this. The hologram shifted to show a space station, smaller than Nexus, but still substantial, orbiting a distant moon. It's a research facility registered to something called the Helix Foundation, Kevin explained. Officially conducting xenobiological research for medical applications. But we cross-referenced with black market tech purchases Elena's been tracking, Gwen added. The components match what the collector's been gathering. Ben's eyes widened. You're working with Elena. More like parallel investigations that occasionally intersect, Gwen said, looking uncomfortable. She's still Elena. But her information has been solid. And here's the kicker, Kevin said, tapping the hologram. Guess who sits on the Helix Foundation's board of directors? The image zoomed in on a document, highlighting a name that made Ben's blood run cold. Commander Dex, he whispered. The same Commander Dex who's been stonewalling the collector investigation? Rook asked, his usual composure slipping. The same one who happens to be overseeing the most important diplomatic conference on restricted tech trade in years, Gwen confirmed. Ben paced the ship's cabin, mind racing. So Dex is either the collector or working for him. And he's positioned perfectly to sabotage the very regulations that would make it harder for the collector to build his weapon. That's our theory, Gwen nodded. But we need proof before we can take this to the plumbers. Which is why we're here, Kevin added. Station security logs might have evidence of Dex communicating with the Helix Foundation. And you need our access codes, Rook concluded. Bingo, Kevin said. Ben rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Dex assigned US to guard the Pisxis delegation during the key vote. Keeping you busy and away from anything sensitive, Gwen noted. We cannot simply abandon our post, Rook protested. The safety of the delegates is exactly why we need to act, Ben interrupted. If Dex is working for the collector, the entire conference could be at risk. A sudden alarm blared throughout the station, cutting their conversation short. Red emergency lights flashed as the station's AI announced, security breach in sectors 3 through 7. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Ben's plumber badge activated automatically. Officer Tennyson, report to the central atrium immediately, came Dex's voice, tension evident even through the static. The station is under attack. By who? Ben demanded. Mercenaries. At least 30, heavily armed. They've breached the diplomatic wing. Ben and Rook exchanged glances. The Pisxis delegation, Rook said. On our way. Ben deactivated his badge and turned to Gwen and Kevin. Looks like you two showed up just in time for the party. Just like old times, Kevin said, absorbing metal from the ship's hull into his skin. Gwen's eyes glowed with mana energy. What's the plan? Rook and I need to get to the diplomatic wing. You two try to secure the station's command center. Ben activated the Omnitrix. If Dex is involved with this attack, we need to make sure he doesn't use it as cover for something worse. And if he's not? Rook asked. Ben paused, his hand over the Omnitrix dial. Then we do our jobs and save the diplomats. Either way, people are in danger. As they rushed from the docking bay, Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix. Green light flashed, and XLR-8 stood in his place. I'll scout ahead, he called, voice distorted by his visor. Meet you at the atrium. In a blur of motion, XLR-8 raced through the station's corridors, weaving between panicking civilians and responding security teams. The station shook with distant explosions, and emergency bulkheads began closing to contain breaches. XLR-8 skidded into the central atrium, finding chaos. Civilians scrambled for shelter as station security exchanged fire with armored figures. The air smelled of ozone and burning metal. The mercenaries wore matching black armor with red visors, professional, coordinated, and well-equipped. They moved with military precision, establishing firing positions and advancing methodically. XLR-8 didn't hesitate. He zoomed between 3 mercenaries, creating a vortex that lifted them off their feet. Before they could recover, he delivered rapid strikes to their armor joints, disabling their weapons. Plumbers, one of the mercenaries shouted. Focus fire on the Omnitrix wielder. A barrage of energy blasts forced XLR-8 behind cover. As he paused to catch his breath, the Omnitrix symbol on his chest beeped in warning. No, not now. He groaned, seconds before green light washed over him, leaving Ben exposed. Perfect timing as always, Ben muttered, ducking as laser fire hit the pillar he hid behind. He reached for the Omnitrix again, but a hand grabbed his wrist. Down! Commander Dex yanked him to the floor as an explosion rocked the area they'd been standing. Commander! Ben coughed through the smoke. What's happening? Dex's cybernetic eye whirred as he scanned the battlefield. Professional hit squad. They took out our communications array first, then targeted life support systems. Who are they after? The Pisxis ambassador. They've already breached the secure conference rooms. Dex checked his blaster. I've got teams trying to evacuate the diplomats, but we're outnumbered. Ben studied Dex's face, looking for any sign of deception. If Gwen's theory was right, this could all be an elaborate setup. I need to find Rook, Ben said, testing Dex's reaction. He was headed to the security control room to check the surveillance feeds. Dex's expression remained stoic. The control room is compromised. Focus on the mission, Tennyson. The ambassador needs extraction. Before Ben could respond, a massive explosion tore through the far wall. The decompression alarms howled as emergency shields struggled to contain the breach. Go. Dex shoved Ben toward the diplomatic wing. I'll cover you. Ben hesitated just a second before activating the Omnitrix again. This time, the flash of green light revealed Jetray, his aerodynamic form perfect for the chaotic environment. Don't make me regret trusting you, Jetray called back to Dex before taking flight toward the diplomatic section. As he soared above the battlefield, Jetray spotted Rook fighting alongside station security, his proto-tool switching rapidly between configurations to counter different threats. With a dive, Jet Ray landed beside him, firing neuroshock beams to clear the area. The Pisxis delegation is trapped in Conference Room Delta, Rook reported, not missing a beat. Station security cannot reach them. Then we will, Jet Ray replied. Grab on. Rook leapt onto Jet Ray's back, and they took off, weaving through crossfire and debris. The station rocked with another explosion, throwing them off course. That was not a weapon impact, Rook observed grimly. Someone is sabotaging the station's infrastructure. Creating a diversion, Jet Ray agreed, adjusting their course. These mercenaries are just the flashy distraction. They reached the diplomatic wing to find the entrance sealed by a security bulkhead. Jet Ray set Rook down, then transformed back to Ben with a flash of green. Can you override it? Ben asked, nodding toward the door controls. Rook connected his proto-tool to the panel. The security protocols have been corrupted. This will take time. Which we don't have. Ben cycled through the Omnitrix. Stand back. I'm going with Humongosaur. This time, the Omnitrix cooperated. The massive dinosaur-like alien flexed his scaled arms. Finally. Humongosaur grinned, then drove his fists into the metal bulkhead. The reinforced door groaned under the assault, buckling inward after several powerful blows. Rook slipped through the gap first, proto-tool raised. Clear. Humongosaur squeezed through, shrinking his size temporarily. The diplomatic wing was eerily quiet compared to the chaos in the atrium. Too quiet, Humongosaur muttered, growing back to full size. Where is everyone? A faint sound drew their attention, water dripping onto the polished floor. They followed the sound to Conference Room Delta, where the door hung partially open. Inside, water pooled across the floor, water tinged blue with what Humongosaur recognized as Pisxis blood. The hover tanks that sustained the aquatic diplomats lay shattered, their occupants gasping on the floor, struggling to breathe without their water environment. No. Humongosaur rushed forward as the Omnitrix timed out, leaving Ben kneeling beside the dying ambassador. Help me get them into something with water. Ben shouted, looking frantically around the room. Rook was already moving, his proto-tool transforming into a cutting device. The environmental control panel, if I can access the emergency containment protocols, a hidden door at the back of the conference room slid open, revealing 3 mercenaries. Unlike the others, these wore specialized gear with glowing components Ben recognized immediately. Nanite tech, he breathed, reaching for the Omnitrix as they raised their weapons. Before either side could act, a wave of pink energy surged through the doorway, slamming the mercenaries against the wall. Gwen stepped in, hands glowing with mana power. Sorry we're late, she said, maintaining her spell to hold the attackers. The command center was a mess. Kevin followed, his body covered in metallic armor. Found these guys trying to download something from the station's main database. Thought we should check what was so important. Ben pointed to the struggling Pisxis delegates. They need water, now. Kevin assessed the situation instantly, then slammed his fists together. On it. He knelt beside the shattered tanks, forming his hands into a makeshift basin. Gwen, can you create a container with your mana? Already working on it. Pink energy flowed from Gwen's hands, forming a large spherical containment field. Rook successfully hacked the environmental controls, and water began flowing from emergency sprinklers. Kevin channeled it into Gwen's mana sphere while Ben and Rook carefully moved the Pisxis diplomats into the improvised tank. They're breathing again, Ben said with relief as the last diplomat was secured. But they need medical attention. The attackers specifically targeted them, Rook noted, examining the broken hover tanks. These were not damaged in crossfire, they were systematically destroyed. To prevent the vote, Gwen concluded. Without the Pisxis delegation, the resolution on restricted technology can't pass. Ben turned to the captured mercenaries, still pinned by Gwen's mana. Let's find out who hired them. He approached the lead mercenary, whose helmet had been damaged in Gwen's attack, revealing a scarred human face beneath. "Who are you working for?" Ben demanded. The mercenary laughed, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. "You're too late, Tennyson. The job's already done." "What job?" Ben grabbed the man's armor. "What's happening on this station?" "Ask your commander." The mercenary's eyes slid toward the doorway where Commander Dex now stood, blaster raised. "Step away from the prisoner, Tennyson," Dex ordered, his cybernetic eye scanning the room. Ben didn't move. "Funny how you showed up right after we secured the delegates. Almost like you were waiting to make sure the job was done." Dex's expression hardened. "I don't know what you're implying, I think you do." Ben stood, facing Dex directly. "Gwen and Kevin found connections between you and the Helix Foundation, the same organization that's been collecting components for a device to counter the Omnitrix. The same components the Collector has been stealing. You're out of line, officer." Dex's grip tightened on his blaster. "Am I?" "Then explain why these mercenaries are using nanite tech identical to what we encountered in the Collector's traps. Explain why you've blocked every attempt to investigate the Collector case." Tension crackled between them as Rook subtly shifted position, his proto-tool ready. Kevin and Gwen remained focused on maintaining the water containment for the delegates while staying alert for trouble. Dex's cybernetic eye whirred rapidly. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Tennyson." "Then enlighten me." For a moment, Dex seemed to consider his options. Then, with surprising speed, he fired his blaster, not at Ben, but at the captured mercenary, who slumped unconscious. "Stun setting," Dex said calmly, lowering his weapon. "Can't have him warning his employer." Ben blinked in confusion. "What?" "I'm not the Collector, you idiot." Dex holstered his blaster. "I've been hunting him for 3 years. The Helix Foundation is my cover, a way to track his technology acquisitions." "You expect us to believe that?" Kevin scoffed. "Believe what you want, Levin." Dex tapped his badge. "Medical team to conference room Delta, priority 1. We have injured diplomats." Turning back to Ben, Dex lowered his voice. "The attack was a diversion. While you were saving the delegates, someone accessed the station's secure database. That's the real mission." "What did they take?" Rook asked. "Still determining that. But whatever it was important enough to risk an assault on a station filled with plumbers." Dex's expression grew grim. "The Collector is accelerating his timeline." Ben's plumber badge beeped with an incoming transmission. "Ben." Elena's voice came through, tense and hurried. "Are you there?" "Elena?" Ben exchanged surprised glances with Gwen. "Where are you?" "On Nexus Station. Docking Bay 12. I tracked a nanite signature here after losing it on Aldebaran. I need to see you, now." "It's about the Collector." "Bit busy with an attack situation," Ben replied. "The attack is over. It was a setup." Elena's voice grew more urgent. "I know what the Collector is building. And I know why he wants you dead." Docking Bay 12 housed maintenance vessels and repair equipment. Ben found Elena waiting beside a small, unmarked shuttle, her expression tense as she scanned her surroundings continuously. "You came alone?" she asked as Ben approached. "Rook and the others are helping with the injured." Ben crossed his arms. "Gwen and Kevin told me you've been sharing information with them. Mutual benefit." Elena glanced past him nervously. "We need to talk somewhere secure. This station isn't safe." "Nowhere is safe if you're right about the Collector." "What do you know?" Elena hesitated, then pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device. "The Collector isn't building a weapon to destroy the Omnitrix. He's building something to extract and copy its core functions." The hologram showed schematics for a device that made Ben's blood run cold, an apparatus designed to interface directly with the Omnitrix, bypassing its safeguards. With this, Elena continued, he could potentially download the entire DNA database stored in the Omnitrix. Create his own version without Asmatha's ethical restraints. Ben studied the schematics. How did you get this? I have my sources. Elena shut down the hologram. The important part is that the collector is nearly ready. Today's attack was the final step. They stole the quantum encryption keys needed to break through the Omnitrix's firewalls. Why are you helping me, Elena? Last time we met, things were complicated between us. She looked away. I have my reasons. Maybe I'm trying to make up for past mistakes. Maybe I don't want to see Omnitrix technology in the hands of someone worse than me. Before Ben could respond, the shuttle behind Elena suddenly powered up, its engines humming to life. That's not supposed to happen, Elena muttered, turning toward the ship. The shuttle's boarding ramp lowered, revealing a figure that made both of them tense, a tall, armored form with a featureless helmet that reflected their shocked expressions. Benjamin Tennyson, the figure spoke, voice mechanically distorted. And Elena Validus. How convenient. Ben reached for the Omnitrix. I'm guessing you're the collector. A crude nickname, but functional. The collector stepped forward, armor gleaming under the docking bay lights. I've been looking forward to meeting you properly. Our previous encounters have been indirect. Those indirect encounters got people hurt, Ben said, activating the Omnitrix. Time to face me directly. Oh, I intend to. The collector raised an arm, revealing a device mounted on the forearm. It emitted a pulse of energy that washed over the area. Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix dial, expecting the familiar rush of transformation. Instead, nothing happened. What the? He stared at the Omnitrix, which displayed an error message, signal interference detected. Dampening field, the collector explained casually. Specifically calibrated to the Omnitrix's transformation frequency. One of many technologies I've developed to counter your particular advantages. Elena stepped forward, nanochips swirling around her hands. He's not the only one with tricks. The collector tilted his head. Ah, the nanochip hybrid. Another fascinating example of human-alien symbiosis. I had hoped to study you as well, Ms. Validus. Her chips surged forward in a silver wave, only to scatter in confusion as they approached the collector. Counter-frequency jamming, the collector noted. Your chips and my nanites share certain vulnerabilities. Ben didn't wait for more explanation. He charged forward, relying on the hand-to-hand combat training he'd received at the Plumber Academy. The collector sidestepped his first punch with surprising agility, then caught Ben's second strike effortlessly. Impressive improvement in your physical capabilities, the collector observed. Plumber training has served you well. But not well enough. With a casual motion, the collector threw Ben across the docking bay. He crashed into a stack of cargo containers, pain flaring through his shoulder. Elena attacked next, foregoing her chips for direct combat. She moved with fluid grace, her strikes precise and powerful. The collector matched her move for move, almost as if studying her technique rather than fighting back. Fascinating adaptation of traditional plumber combat methods, the collector commented. With nanochip-enhanced reflexes. You're quite the specimen, Ms. Validus. Shut up and fight, Elena snarled, landing a solid kick to the collector's midsection. The blow should have staggered him, but the collector merely absorbed the impact, his armor briefly glowing at the point of contact. Energy redistribution, he explained. Another useful innovation. Ben pushed himself up, wincing at his injured shoulder. Without the Omnitrix, he was at a severe disadvantage, but he wasn't about to give up. He grabbed a maintenance tool from nearby, a heavy wrench that could serve as a weapon. You talk too much, Ben called out, rejoining the fight. For someone who stayed in the shadows for months, you've got a lot to say now. Professional courtesy, the collector replied, evading Ben's swing. I've studied you extensively, Tennyson. It seemed appropriate to allow you to know something of me before the end. Ben and Elena coordinated their attacks, years of past teamwork automatically synchronizing their movements. For a moment, they seemed to gain the upper hand, forcing the Collector to give ground. Then, without warning, the Collector countered. His movements shifted from defensive to offensive so quickly that neither Ben nor Elena could adapt. With precise strikes, he disabled Elena's primary nanochip control points, sending her to her knees as her chips went haywire. Ben lunged forward, wrench raised, only to have it wrenched from his grasp. The Collector's armored hand closed around Ben's throat, lifting him off his feet. 6 months as a plumber has improved you, the Collector said, voice still mechanically calm. But you're still predictable, Tennyson. Still relying on the same strategies, the same emotional triggers. Ben struggled, trying to pry the armored fingers from his neck. Who are you? Someone who understands the Omnitrix better than you ever will. The Collector's helmet retracted partially, revealing just enough of a human face for Ben to see a satisfied smile. Someone who knows its true potential. The docking bay doors slid open, and Rook burst in, proto-tool at the ready. Release him immediately. The Collector glanced at the newcomer, then casually threw Ben aside. Right on schedule. Your team's response time has improved, Tennyson. Rook fired, his proto-tool sending a barrage of energy blasts toward the Collector. The armored figure dodged with inhuman speed, retreating toward his shuttle. Another time, perhaps, the Collector called out. I have what I came for. As the shuttle's engines roared to life, Ben struggled to his feet. Stop him. Rook's proto-tool transformed into a grappling launcher, the hook embedding itself in the shuttle's hull. The ship faltered momentarily, then compensated, dragging Rook across the docking bay floor. Cut the line. Ben shouted as Rook was pulled dangerously close to the shuttle's thrusters. Rook released the cable just as the shuttle lifted off, blasting through the docking bays. Atmospheric shield into open space. Are you both all right? Rook asked, rushing to help Elena to her feet while Ben massaged his bruised throat. He let us live, Elena said, her voice hollow. He could have killed us both, but he chose not to. Ben stared at the Omnitrix, which had begun functioning again once the Collector's shuttle departed. Because he's not done with us yet. Rook's badge beeped, and Gwen's voice came through. Rook? Is Ben with you? We found something you need to see. The station's security center buzzed with activity as technicians assessed damage and officers coordinated the cleanup effort. Commander Dex stood at a central console, his cybernetic eye interfaced directly with the system as he downloaded data. The attack caused minimal casualties but maximum disruption, Dex reported as Ben and the others entered. Textbook diversion tactic. While everyone focused on the mercenaries, the Collector accessed the secure database, Gwen added, bringing up a display showing access logs. But here's the strange part, he only accessed one file. Kevin pointed to the screen. Personnel records for Plumber Special Operations Unit 127, from 15 years ago. Ben frowned. What's so special about that unit? They were assigned to guard shipments of Galvan technology, Dex said, disconnecting from the console. Including early prototypes of the Omnitrix. A chill ran down Ben's spine. The Collector was looking for someone specific? Not looking for, Elena interjected, studying the records. Confirming. He already knew who he was after. He just needed details. Rook scrolled through the personnel list. Several members of this unit are deceased. Others are still active plumbers. Including Grandpa Max, Ben realized, spotting his grandfather's younger face among the records. And me, Dex added quietly. All eyes turned to the commander, who met their gazes without flinching. Now you understand why I've been personally invested in this case, Dex said. The Collector has been systematically targeting everyone involved with those shipments. 3 former members of Unit 127 have died in accidents over the past year. Why didn't you tell us this before? Ben demanded. Plumber protocol. Need-to-know basis. Dex's expression hardened. And frankly, Tennyson, your record of discretion isn't exactly stellar. So the collector has a personal vendetta against Unit 127, Gwen summarized. But why? What happened 15 years ago? Dex hesitated, then sighed. There was an incident during a transport mission. A civilian researcher gained unauthorized access to one of the prototypes. The results were catastrophic. What kind of catastrophic? Kevin asked. The kind that left 37 people dead and an entire research facility destroyed. Dex's cybernetic eye dimmed slightly. The researcher was presumed killed in the explosion. But wasn't, Elena concluded. Apparently not. Dex straightened. The collector's technological signature matches theoretical work the researcher was developing before the incident, particularly the nanite architecture. Ben's mind raced, connecting dots. So the collector is this researcher, out for revenge against the plumbers who were there when he was supposedly killed. And now he's built technology to extract the Omnitrix's functions. Which explains his interest in you, specifically, Rook added. As the most prominent wielder of the device he covets. But why now? Gwen asked. The Omnitrix has been on Earth for years. Why wait until Ben joined the plumbers officially? Because now I'm part of the system he hates, Ben realized. It's not just about the Omnitrix anymore, it's about everything it represents. A priority alert flashed across the main screen, interrupting their discussion. Dex accessed the incoming transmission, his expression growing grim. This just came through from Plumber headquarters on Earth, he announced. Magister Tennyson's transport has gone missing near the Kuiper Belt. Last communication reported an unidentified vessel approaching their position. Ben felt as if the floor had dropped away beneath him. Grandpa Max. When? 3 hours ago, Dex replied. Search teams are already deployed. We need to go. Now. Ben turned to Kevin. Is your ship ready? Always. Kevin nodded grimly. This is a plumber matter, Dex began. My grandfather is missing, Ben cut him off, eyes flashing. And we all know who took him. This is personal now. Dex studied Ben for a long moment, then nodded. I'll authorize your departure as an official plumber rescue mission. Officer Blanco, you'll accompany Tennyson as senior field agent. Thank you, Commander, Rook said formally. The rest of you have no official standing, Dex continued, looking at Gwen, Kevin, and Elena. Officially, I know nothing about your involvement. Understood, Gwen replied. As they turned to leave, Dex called out, Tennyson. When Ben looked back, the commander's typically stern expression had softened slightly. Max Tennyson is one of the finest plumbers I've ever served with. Find him. Count on it, Ben promised. Kevin's ship cut through space at speeds that definitely exceeded legal limits, its modified engines pushing boundaries that would have given plumber engineers heart attacks. In the cabin, tension ran high as Ben paced restlessly. The last signal from Grandpa's transport came from Quadrant 7, he said, checking the coordinates again. That's nowhere near his scheduled route. The collector must have lured him there, Rook suggested from the co-pilot's seat. Perhaps using information from the station's database. Gwen sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in concentration, a soft pink glow surrounding her. I'm trying to sense him, but there's too much distance. We'll find him, Kevin assured her, hands steady on the controls. Max Tennyson survived worse than this collector creep. Elena worked at a separate console, her nanochips interfacing directly with the ship's sensors. I'm detecting residual energy signatures consistent with the collector's technology. Bearing 227 Mark 35. Adjusting course, Kevin responded immediately, banking the ship toward the new coordinates. Ben stopped pacing long enough to look over Elena's shoulder. How can your chips track his tech? Similar base architecture, she explained without looking up. His nanites and my chips share certain resonance patterns. Different applications of the same fundamental technology. Approaching target area, Kevin announced. Dropping out of hyperdrive in 3, 2, 1. The star's cape outside shifted from streaked light back to distinct points as the ship decelerated. Ahead floated debris, twisted metal and shattered components. Grandpa's ship, Ben whispered, pressing his hand against the viewport. Rook's scanner beeped. Life signs detected within the debris field. Faint, but present. Where? Ben demanded. There. Rook pointed to a larger section of intact hull. One life form, human vital patterns. Get us alongside it, Ben ordered, already heading for the airlock. I'm going out there. Atmosphere is compromised in that section, Rook warned. You'll need, but Ben was already activating the Omnitrix. Way ahead of you, partner. The flash of green light revealed Terra Spin, the turtle-like alien perfectly adapted for space. I'll bring him back, Terra Spin assured them before cycling the airlock and launching himself into the void. Navigating through the debris field, Terra Spin reached the section of hull where the life signs originated. Using his powerful limbs, he tore open a sealed compartment, and found not Grandpa Max, but a wounded plumber he recognized as one of his grandfather's regular crew members. Carefully extracting the injured man, Terra Spin returned to Kevin's ship, where Gwen immediately began treating the plumber's wounds. Jenkins, Ben said, returning to human form. Where's Grandpa Max? The wounded plumber coughed weakly. Taken. The collector. He wanted Max specifically. Why? Ben pressed. What did he say? Said Max, would be bait. Jenkins winced as Gwen applied mana energy to stabilize his injuries. Said to tell you. Chimera. Chimera? Ben repeated. What does that mean? Jenkins shook his head. Don't know. That's all he said. Find Chimera. Ben looked to the others questioningly, but was met with blank expressions. I've never heard of anything called Chimera related to plumber operations, Rook admitted. It must mean something to Max, Kevin suggested. Or to the collector. Elena suddenly straightened. Chimera. It's not a what, it's a where. She brought up a star chart on the ship's display. Chimera Research Station. Abandoned after an explosion 15 years ago. The same incident Dex mentioned. That has to be where he's taken Grandpa, Ben said. How far? Edge of the system. 8 hours at maximum speed. Kevin glanced back. Which this ship isn't technically rated for, but, do it, Ben cut him off. As Kevin adjusted their course, Ben studied the limited information they had on the Chimera Research Station. The facility had been a joint human plumber operation, studying various alien technologies for peaceful applications. This is where it all started, Ben murmured. Whatever happened here created the collector. And now he's bringing it full circle, Gwen said, joining him after stabilizing Jenkins. Using Max to lure you there. It's a trap, Rook stated the obvious. Of course it's a trap. Ben's expression hardened. But it's the only lead we have. Elena approached, her nanochips swirling nervously around her fingers. There's something else you should know. She hesitated, then continued reluctantly. The Chimera facility was studying early nanite technology. Technology that eventually led to the creation of the chips that infected me. Ben turned to her, surprised. You never mentioned that. I only discovered it recently, digging through classified files. Elena looked away. The researcher who supposedly died, the one we think is the collector, was leading experiments on human nanite integration. Like what happened to you, Gwen realized. Elena nodded grimly. I think my father's work with the chips wasn't original research. I think he was continuing this scientist's experiments. The implications hung heavy in the air. The collector's vendetta wasn't just about the Omnitrix or the plumbers, it was about his life's work, twisted and continued in ways that had ultimately affected all of them. So we're not just facing someone with a grudge, Ben summarized. We're facing the original creator of technology that's been causing problems for years. Someone who knows exactly how Elena's chips work, Kevin added. And who's had 15 years to perfect his own version. Which means I may be more liability than asset against him, Elena admitted. He can counter my abilities. Ben shook his head. We need everyone for this. The collectors had years to plan. We need every advantage we can get. Even advantages he can potentially turn against us. Rook asked cautiously. Even those. Ben's expression was resolute. Because there's one thing the collector doesn't understand, despite all his research and planning. What's that? Gwen asked. Ben looked at each of them in turn, his cousin, her boyfriend, his partner, and the woman with whom he shared a complicated past. Each brought something unique to the team, a combination of abilities and perspectives the collector couldn't possibly predict. That I never fight alone. Ben placed his hand on the Omnitrix. And that's something no amount of technology can counter. The Chimera research station hung against the blackness of space like a ghost, a once great facility now dark and derelict, orbiting a distant, unnamed planetoid at the edge of the solar system. As Kevin's ship approached, Ben studied the station's skeletal structure, searching for signs of life. Main power seems to be restored to the central hub, Rook observed, scanning the facility. The rest remains dormant. Perfect dramatic villain setup, Kevin remarked. Abandoned space station, middle of nowhere, creepy lighting. Any sign of Grandpa's ship? Ben asked. Elena's nanochips returned from their reconnaissance, re-entering her body through her palm. Docking bay on the far side. Max's transport is there, along with another vessel, likely the collector's. Life signs? Gwen asked. 2 humans, central laboratory. Elena frowned. And something else, energy readings I can't identify. Ben checked his plumber badge, but it remained silent. Comms are being jammed. We're on our own. What's the plan? Kevin asked, bringing the ship into position behind a piece of orbital debris for cover. We need to split up, Ben decided. Rook and I will head directly for the central lab. Gwen, Kevin, secure the docking bay and Max's ship, we might need a quick exit. What about me? Elena asked. Ben considered her for a moment. Your chips make you vulnerable to the collector's tech, but they're also our best recon. I need you to infiltrate the station's systems. If you can get any control over the environment, it gives us an advantage. Elena nodded. I'll try to access the mainframe. Remember, Ben continued, this is a rescue mission first. Get Grandpa Max out safely. The collector is secondary. But if we get a shot at taking him down? Kevin pressed. Then we take it, Ben's eyes hardened. But not at the expense of Grandpa's safety. As Kevin maneuvered the ship toward a maintenance airlock, Ben felt a familiar mix of adrenaline and focus, the pre-mission clarity that had become second nature after 6 months as a plumber. Yet this time, something was different. The stakes weren't just professional, they were deeply personal. Approaching the airlock, Kevin announced. No signs of active security. Too easy, Gwen muttered. He wants us inside, Ben acknowledged. So let's not disappoint him. The ship docked with a gentle shudder, magnetic clamps securing it to the station's exterior. Rook activated the airlock sequence, atmospheric readings confirming breathable air inside. Atmosphere and gravity are functioning, he reported. But temperature is minimal, barely above freezing. He's conserving power, Elena suggested. Focusing energy on essential systems only. Or setting the mood, Kevin added, absorbing metal from a nearby panel to armor himself. Ben stood at the airlock door, Omnitrix ready. Keep in radio contact as long as possible. If comms go down, rendezvous at the ship in 30 minutes. Gwen caught his arm before he could leave. Be careful. The collectors had time to prepare this battlefield. I know. Ben managed a small smile. But so have I. With that, he activated the Omnitrix, transforming into Big Chill. The moth-like alien's breath misted in the cold air as the airlock opened, revealing a darkened maintenance corridor. Perfect for this environment, Big Chill commented, his naturally cold body comfortable in the frigid station. Rook followed, proto-tool at the ready, its integrated flashlight illuminating their path. The others split off in their assigned directions, disappearing into the shadows of the derelict station. Big Chill and Rook moved silently through frost-covered corridors. Emergency lighting cast eerie blue shadows across equipment that hadn't been touched in 15 years. It appears the station was evacuated in haste, Rook observed, noting personal items still at workstations. The explosion must have been sudden. Or deliberate, Big Chill replied. If the collector arranged his own death, he wouldn't have wanted witnesses. They reached a junction where the maintenance corridor met a main hallway. Signs indicated the central laboratory lay ahead. Big Chill turned intangible, phasing through a wall to scout ahead while Rook kept watch. Multiple security systems active in the main corridor, Big Chill reported upon returning. Motion sensors, heat detectors, and what looks like nanite swarms patrolling at intervals. Can you bypass them in your intangible state? Yes, but you can't. Big Chill considered their options. And separating is exactly what he wants. Their communicators crackled suddenly with Elena's voice. Ben, I've accessed a subsidiary system. I can see you on internal sensors. There's another route to the central lab through the cryogenics section. Good work. Directions? 2 levels down, 3rd junction on your right. It's cold, really cold, but the security is minimal. Cold is no problem for me right now, Big Chill replied. What about your progress? Slow. His systems are familiar but modified. Like trying to read a language that's close to one I know but with different rules. Keep at it. We're moving to the cryogenics section now. Following Elena's directions, Big Chill and Rook descended through the station, the temperature dropping noticeably with each level. Ice formations grew from walls and ceiling, creating an alien landscape of frozen shapes. This area was designed for storing biological samples in suspended animation, Rook explained, his breath clouding heavily. The cooling systems appear to have been running unchecked for years. Big Chill moved comfortably through the frozen environment, while Rook activated thermal elements in his plumber armor. As they progressed, Big Chill noticed something strange about the ice formations. These aren't random, he realized, studying the patterns. They're growing in specific configurations. Rook scanned one formation with his proto-tool. You are correct. These contain nanites, dormant but structured. They appear to be recording devices. He's watching us. Big Chill looked around at the countless ice formations. This whole section is one big surveillance system. Then we should give him something to watch, Rook suggested with uncharacteristic mischief. Understanding his partner's intent, Big Chill nodded. He unleashed his freezing breath in a wide arc, encasing the nearest formations in a thicker layer of ice that would obscure their monitoring capabilities. They moved quickly after that, following the path Elena had indicated while Big Chill periodically disabled more of the nanite ice formations. Eventually, they reached a massive door marked Central Laboratory Access. This is it, Big Chill said, the Omnitrix symbol on his chest beeping in warning. And perfect timing as always. With a flash of green light, he reverted to human form, shivering immediately in the extreme cold. Okay, maybe not so perfect. Rook handed him a thermal blanket from his pack. The door appears to be locked with a genetic scanner. Ben examined the panel beside the door. Grandpa mentioned these old research stations used DNA-keyed security. Only authorized personnel could access sensitive areas. The collector was presumably authorized 15 years ago, Rook noted. Which is how he accessed the facility now. Ben's communicator activated. Ben, came Gwen's voice, tense but controlled. We've secured the docking bay and Max's ship, but there's no sign of any crew. Just abandoned stations. He must have transferred them somewhere else, Ben replied. Or. He didn't finish the thought. The alternative was too grim to contemplate. Any word from Elena? He asked instead. Negative. Her comms went silent about 5 minutes ago. Ben exchanged concerned glances with Rook. Change of plan. Meet us at the central lab entrance. We may need your mana abilities to bypass this door. On our way. While waiting for the others, Ben studied the laboratory entrance more carefully. Unlike the rest of the station, this door showed signs of recent maintenance, the mechanisms oiled, the panel cleaned of frost. He's been using this regularly, Ben observed. Whatever he's working on is in there. Along with Magister Tennyson, Rook added soberly. Kevin and Gwen arrived minutes later, both looking tense but unharmed. This place gives me the creeps, Kevin said, gesturing to the ice formations. Everything's perfectly preserved, like a museum of the disaster. Or a shrine, Gwen suggested, her anodite senses clearly unsettled. There's an intentionality to this place. Like it's been maintained this way deliberately. Can you get us through this door? Ben asked, nodding toward the genetic scanner. Gwen examined it, pink energy flowing from her fingertips to probe the locking mechanism. It's sophisticated. More than just mechanical or electronic security. There's a biological component. DNA lock, Kevin confirmed, touching the panel. High-end stuff, even by today's standards. 15 years ago, this was cutting edge. Can you bypass it? Ben pressed. Kevin shrugged. Maybe with an hour and the right tools. We don't have an hour. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through aliens. Time for the direct approach. Ben, wait, Gwen began, but he had already selected and transformed. Humongosaur, the massive dinosaur-like alien roared, muscles tensing as he prepared to simply tear the door from its frame. Before he could act, however, the door slid open smoothly. Welcome, Ben Tennyson, came a familiar mechanically filtered voice. I've been expecting you and your team. The collector stood in the laboratory beyond, his armored form silhouetted against banks of glowing equipment. Behind him, strapped to an examination table, was Grandpa Max. Ben, Max called out, his voice strained but strong. It's a trap. I know, Grandpa. Humongosaur stepped forward. Cautiously. That's kind of obvious at this point. The collector tilted his head. And yet you came anyway. Predictable, but admirable. Humongosaur scanned the room, noting multiple exits, equipment that could serve as cover, and most importantly, Max's condition. His grandfather appeared unharmed, though restrained. Let him go, Humongosaur demanded. Your quarrel is with me. My quarrel, as you put it, is with many parties. The collector gestured, and a second figure stepped forward from the shadows. Elena, her expression blank, nanochips visibly moving beneath her skin. I'm sorry, she said mechanically. He took control. His nanites overrode my chips. Gwen's hands flared with mana energy. Let them both go. Now. The collector seemed amused. Or what? You'll destroy this facility? With your grandfather and friend still inside? He shook his head. Besides, I haven't even introduced myself properly yet. With that, his helmet retracted, revealing a middle-aged human face with sharp features and calculating eyes. Burns scarred one side, partly obscured by a nanite-infused metallic implant similar to Commander Dex's cybernetic eye. Dr. Victor Crane, he introduced himself with a slight bow. Formerly of Project Chimera, currently, independent. The scientist who supposedly died in the explosion, Rook realized. A necessary deception. Crane gestured to the equipment around them. My work was too important to be constrained by Plumber regulations or human ethics committees. Humongousaur tensed, ready to charge, but Crane held up a warning finger. I wouldn't, he advised. The nanites I've introduced to Max Tennyson's bloodstream are key to my life signs. Any attack on me, and they activate, with lethal consequences. Humongousaur froze. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Crane approached a central console, activating a holographic display that showed a detailed schematic of the Omnitrix. To fulfill the true potential of Project Chimera. Which was? Kevin asked, still armored but holding position beside Gwen. The fusion of human and alien at the genetic level. Crane's eyes gleamed with fervor. The Omnitrix was merely one approach, Asmith's approach. Clean, controlled transformation. My method was different. Direct integration. He gestured to Elena. Ms. Validus represents an accidental success of my methodology. The nanochips her father continued developing after my death were based on my original designs. So the collector isn't just after the Omnitrix, Gwen realized. You want to combine your nanite technology with its transformation capabilities. Precisely. Crane smiled, genuinely pleased at her understanding. Imagine it, nanite swarms that can adopt any alien genetic structure, that can transform humans permanently into hybrid forms with all the powers of alien species. You're talking about forced evolution, Max spoke up from the examination table. Playing God with entire species. I prefer to think of it as directed advancement, Crane corrected. And you, Max Tennyson, should understand better than most. You've seen what the universe holds. The threats coming toward Earth. Humanity needs more than plumbers and a single teenager with the Omnitrix to survive what's coming. The Omnitrix symbol on Humongousaur's chest beeped in warning. Ben mentally cursed the timing but had grown used to working with the limitation. As green light washed over him, returning him to human form, he kept his eyes fixed on Crane. So that's why you lured me here, Ben said, stepping forward despite Rook's cautioning hand. You need the Omnitrix to complete your work. Not just the Omnitrix. Crane nodded toward Elena. I needed a successful nanite integration subject to study. And I needed the man responsible for shutting down my original project. His gaze shifted to Max. You're blaming Grandpa for the explosion? Ben asked incredulously. The explosion was my doing, Crane admitted. But the betrayal that necessitated it? That was Max Tennyson and Unit 127. They were supposed to deliver components I needed. Instead, they reported my unauthorized experiments to Plumber High Command. Ben glanced at his grandfather, who met his eyes with a grim nod, confirming Crane's story. You were experimenting on unwilling subjects, Max said firmly. Using alien technology that even the Galvan considered too dangerous. Visionaries are always misunderstood, Crane replied dismissively. He turned his attention back to Ben. But now, 15 years later, everything has aligned perfectly. I have Max Tennyson as witness. I have Elena Validus as proof of concept. And I have you, Ben Tennyson, with the fully realized Omnitrix. Ben tensed as Crane approached him, but the scientist merely circled him, studying the Omnitrix with professional interest. Asmith's masterpiece, Crane murmured. I've studied every scrap of data I could find on its functions. Reverse-engineered aspects of its interface technology. But the core DNA manipulation algorithms, those remain elusive. And will stay that way, Ben replied firmly. Asmith built safeguards into the Omnitrix for a reason. Safeguards I intend to bypass. Crane gestured, and from the ceiling descended a complex apparatus, cables, scanning arrays, and at its center, a cradle clearly designed to hold Ben's arm with the Omnitrix. The culmination of 15 years' work, Crane explained proudly. A device capable of interfacing directly with the Omnitrix's core functions, extracting its transformation protocols, and integrating them with my nanite swarms. Not happening, Ben declared, backing away. Crane sighed, as if disappointed by a slow student. You misunderstand, Ben. This isn't a request. He activated a control on his armor. Elena suddenly cried out in pain, collapsing to her knees as the nanochips beneath her skin pulsed violently. Stop! Ben shouted. That's just a fraction of what I can do, Crane warned. Ms. Validus's chips are now fully under my control. As are the nanites in your grandfather's bloodstream. Your cooperation ensures their survival. Ben looked from Elena's pained face to his grandfather's resolute one. Max gave a small shake of his head, telling Ben not to surrender. But Ben had spent 6 months as a plumber. 6 months learning that sometimes, the right move wasn't a direct attack, but a strategic repositioning. Let them go first, Ben countered. Send them back to our ship. Once they're safe, I'll cooperate. Crane studied him, clearly assessing the sincerity of the offer. You've grown, Ben Tennyson. 6 months ago, you'd have simply attacked. 6 months as a plumber teaches you to negotiate, Ben replied steadily. After a moment's consideration, Crane nodded. A reasonable compromise. But Ms. Validus stays, I need her for the final calibrations. Your grandfather and friends may return to your ship. Ben, no, Max protested as Crane released his restraints. It's okay, Grandpa, Ben assured him. I know what I'm doing. Rook stepped forward. I will remain as well. That wasn't the offer, Crane said coldly. Rook is my partner, Ben insisted. Where I go, he goes. That's non-negotiable. Another calculating pause from Crane, then a nod. Very well. The Ravanigander may stay. The others leave. Now. Kevin helped Max to his feet while Gwen looked uncertainly between Ben and her grandfather. Go, Ben urged her. Get Grandpa back to the ship. Be ready. The meaning in his eyes was clear, be ready for whatever came next. Gwen nodded reluctantly. You have 15 minutes, she told Ben quietly. Then we're coming back for you. Generous time frame, Ben replied with a hint of his old grin. As Gwen and Kevin escorted Max from the laboratory, Crane turned his attention back to Ben. Your arm, please. Ben approached the apparatus cautiously, Rook maintaining position near the door, his proto-tool ready but lowered. Elena remained kneeling, nanochips still pulsing painfully beneath her skin. This won't hurt, Crane assured him as Ben extended his arm toward the cradle. The Omnitrix may resist. Initial connection attempts, but my interface is designed to bypass its defenses gradually, mimicking authorized access patterns. The cradle closed around Ben's wrist, metal contacts extending to touch the Omnitrix's surface. Immediately, the device flashed warning symbols. Unauthorized access attempt detected, came the Omnitrix's automated voice. Fascinating, Crane murmured, watching data streams flow across his monitors. It's more sentient than I realized. Ben winced as the Omnitrix grew warm against his skin. It doesn't like being hacked. It will adjust, Crane assured him, adjusting controls. Now, please remain still. Movement could disrupt the connection sequence. As Crane focused on his console, Ben caught Rook's eye and gave a nearly imperceptible nod. His partner responded with an equally subtle gesture, understood. You know, Ben said conversationally, for someone smart enough to create all this, you made one really basic mistake. Crane didn't look up from his work. And what might that be? You forgot that I've had the Omnitrix for years. Ben smiled as the device on his wrist began to pulse rhythmically, a pattern he recognized well. And it doesn't just respond to unauthorized access. It responds to my thoughts. Before Crane could react, Ben shouted, now, Rook. Two things happened simultaneously. Rook fired his proto-tool directly at the laboratory's environmental controls, plunging the room into darkness except for emergency lighting. And the Omnitrix flashed brilliant green, initiating transformation despite being connected to Crane's apparatus. Feedback. Ben's voice called out from within the green glow, transforming into the electricity-manipulating alien. The connection between the Omnitrix and Crane's device became a two-way conduit. Instead of Crane extracting data from the Omnitrix, Feedback began absorbing energy from the apparatus itself. No. Crane lunged for the controls, but it was too late. Feedback channeled the absorbed energy directly into the nearby systems, overloading them in cascading surges. Crane's nanite control signals disrupted momentarily, just long enough for Elena to regain partial control. Ben, she gasped, fighting through pain. His primary systems, central console, destroy it. Feedback didn't hesitate. He directed a massive energy discharge at the indicated console, which exploded in a shower of sparks and components. Crane roared with rage, his armor reconfiguring into combat mode. Years of work. You have no idea what you've done. Stopped you from weaponizing the Omnitrix. Yeah, I'm broken up about it, Feedback replied, tearing free from the now powerless cradle. Rook moved to Elena's side, helping her up as she struggled to reassert control over her nanochips. Can you move? He asked urgently. She nodded weakly. Get to the auxiliary lab. One level up. He has fail-safes there. Crane attacked with surprising speed for someone in heavy armor, nanite weapons forming from his gauntlets. Feedback dodged the initial assault, returning fire with electrical blasts that Crane's armor seemed designed to absorb. Your conductoid form was anticipated, Crane sneered. I've studied all your transformations, Tennyson. My armor adapts. To demonstrate, the armor reconfigured, channeling Feedback's electrical attack back at him with amplified force. Feedback was thrown across the laboratory, crashing into delicate equipment. Rook, Elena, go. Feedback called out as he recovered. Find the auxiliary lab. Rook hesitated only briefly before nodding and helping Elena toward the exit. Crane noticed their movement and fired a barrage of nanite projectiles to stop them, but Feedback intercepted the attack, absorbing the energy from the projectiles. It's just you and me now, Doc, Feedback taunted, circling to keep Crane's attention focused on him. One-on-one. No hostages, no leverage. As you wish. Crane's armor shifted again, becoming sleeker, more agile. Though you're operating under a misapprehension, Ben. I don't need the Omnitrix intact to get what I want. With that cryptic statement, he charged, engaging Feedback in close combat. Despite the alien's natural agility, Crane matched him move for move, the nanites in his armor adapting continuously to Feedback's fighting style. The problem with the Omnitrix, Crane continued conversationally, as if they were having a friendly sparring match rather than fighting for their lives, is that it keeps the alien DNA separate from the human host. A clean transformation rather than true integration. He landed a solid blow that sent Feedback staggering. My approach is superior. True hybridization. Humanity elevated rather than merely disguised. You've got it all wrong, Feedback countered, absorbing energy from a nearby power conduit to recharge. The Omnitrix isn't about disguising humanity. It's about understanding other species by experiencing life from their perspective. Noble sentiments, Crane mocked. Asmatha's philosophical justifications for a weapon of unimaginable power. Feedback fired a concentrated energy beam that Crane barely dodged. If you think the Omnitrix is just a weapon, you really haven't been paying attention. Their battle intensified, moving through the laboratory, destroying equipment and specimens as they traded blows and energy attacks. Feedback realized with growing concern that Crane seemed to be analyzing his combat patterns, his armor adapting more quickly to each attack. Meanwhile, the Omnitrix symbol on Feedback's chest began to flash in warning. Time was running short. Your transformation is about to time out, Crane observed smugly. Then what will you do, Ben Tennyson? Feedback grinned, an idea forming. Something unexpected. He thrust both antennae directly into a major power junction, absorbing a massive surge of energy. Instead of directing it at Crane, however, he channeled it into the Omnitrix symbol itself just as the transformation timed out. The resulting energy discharge created a feedback loop within the Omnitrix's systems. As Ben returned to human form, the Omnitrix immediately reactivated, bypassing its normal recharge period. What? Crane exclaimed, genuinely surprised. Something I learned as a plumber, Ben explained as he activated the Omnitrix again. Sometimes you have to break protocol to get results. He slammed down on the dial, transforming into Diamond Head. Crystalline armor covered his body as he immediately went on the offensive, firing crystal shards that penetrated Crane's armor before it could fully adapt. Your nanites can't analyze and counter crystal structures as quickly as energy patterns, Diamond Head observed, pressing his advantage. Another thing I've learned, know your enemy's weaknesses. Crane stumbled back, his armor struggling to adapt to the crystalline assault. For the first time, he appeared genuinely concerned. This changes nothing, he insisted, retreating toward an auxiliary control station. I've already extracted partial transformation protocols from the Omnitrix. Enough to proceed with the next phase. There won't be a next phase, Diamond Head declared, encasing Crane's legs in crystal to immobilize him. It's over, Crane. The scientist smiled thinly. It's never over, Ben. That's the thing about evolution, it's constant, inexorable change. He pressed a control on his gauntlet, and suddenly the entire station shuddered. Emergency alarms blared as a computerized voice announced, self-destruct sequence initiated. 15 minutes to complete evacuation. Really? Diamond Head exclaimed in disbelief. The self-destruct countdown. That's the best you can do. Sometimes classics are classics for a reason, Crane replied calmly. His armor suddenly pulsed with energy, shattering the crystal restraints. And it serves its purpose, forcing you to choose between capturing me and saving your friends. Before Diamond Head could react, Crane fired a concentrated nanite blast at the ceiling above them, bringing down a section of the laboratory structure. As Diamond Head shielded himself from the falling debris, Crane escaped through a previously concealed exit. Rook. Diamond Head called into his communicator. Status report. Static answered him momentarily, then Rook's voice came through. We've located the auxiliary laboratory. Elena is attempting to deactivate the self-destruct, but the systems are locked down. Crane got away. He's heading your way, probably to his ship. Understood. We will intercept if possible. Diamond Head smashed through the remaining debris, racing toward the auxiliary lab one level up. The station continued to shake, systems failing as the self-destruct sequence progressed. Ben. Gwen's voice came through his communicator. What's happening? The station's breaking apart. Crane activated self-destruct, Diamond Head replied, running through corridors where emergency lights flashed warnings. Get the ship ready. We'll be coming in hot. Already on it. Kevin's prepping for emergency departure. Grandpa Max. Stable. The nanites in his system went dormant when you disrupted Crane's control signals. Good. Be ready to pick us up at the nearest airlock to the auxiliary lab. Section 7G according to the station map. We'll be there. Diamond Head reached the auxiliary laboratory just as another explosion rocked the station. Inside, he found Rook and Elena working frantically at different consoles. Please tell me you can stop this countdown, Diamond Head said, reverting to Ben as he joined them. Elena shook her head, frustration evident. He's locked it down completely. And he's taken something from the secure storage unit. She pointed to an open containment vessel. What was in there? Ben asked. I don't know exactly, but based on the containment protocols, it was a sample of highly advanced nanite clusters. Possibly his original prototypes. Another violent shudder ran through the station. Rook checked his scanner. Structural integrity failing. We have less than 10 minutes before complete collapse. Then we need to go. Now. Ben activated his communicator. Gwen, we're heading to the rendezvous point. Already there. Kevin's got the airlock prepped. They raced through the deteriorating station, sections of corridor collapsing behind them as they ran. Elena stumbled, still weakened from Crane's control, and Ben caught her arm, supporting her as they continued. The nanites in your system? He asked. Struggling to recalibrate, she replied through gritted teeth. He did something to their base programming. It's like they're confused, fighting each other. We'll fix it once we're safe, Ben promised. They reached the airlock just as a massive explosion tore through a nearby section. The outer door opened, revealing. Kevin's ship docked precariously to the unstable station. Move! Kevin shouted from the ship's entrance. Rook went first, then helped Elena across. Ben was about to follow when movement caught his eye, a figure in armored exosuit, moving rapidly toward a different docking port. Crane, Ben muttered. He's escaping. Ben, no. Rook called out, but Ben had already activated the Omnitrix again. XLR-8. The speedy alien took off after Crane, racing through the collapsing corridors with lightning speed. He caught up to Crane at a small private docking bay where a sleek escape vessel waited. The scientist was already boarding, carrying what appeared to be a secure container. It's over, Crane. XLR-8 called out, skidding to a halt at the entrance to the bay. Crane turned, regarding XLR-8 with what appeared to be genuine respect. No, Ben Tennyson. It's only beginning. He held up the container. I have what I need. The next phase of human evolution is assured. The station rocked violently, support beams collapsing around them. XLR-8 dodged falling debris, maintaining his focus on Crane. There won't be a next time, XLR-8 insisted. I'm taking you in. Such confidence, Crane observed. Such certainty. But consider this, perhaps I'm not the villain of this story. Perhaps, in time, you'll come to see my work as necessary. Not likely, XLR-8 replied, tensing to spring forward. Before he could move, the docking clamp securing Crane's vessel suddenly released. The sudden shift threw both of them off balance as the artificial gravity fluctuated. A parting thought, Ben Tennyson, Crane called out as he steadied himself at his ship's entrance. When the threats beyond our stars finally arrive in force, and they will, humanity will need more than plumbers and a single Omnitrix wielder to survive. Remember that. With those ominous words, he sealed his ship. XLR-8 lunged forward, but another explosion rocked the station, sending him crashing into a wall as Crane's vessel detached and accelerated away from the dying facility. Ben. Gwen's urgent voice came through his communicator. The station's breaking up. Get back here now. XLR-8 looked at Crane's retreating ship, then at the collapsing station around him. With a frustrated growl, he turned and raced back toward Kevin's vessel at maximum speed. He arrived at the airlock just as another major system failed, the artificial gravity shutting down completely. Using his momentum, XLR-8 launched himself across the gap between the station and ship, transforming back to human form mid-flight as something went wrong with this response. Please try again. Begin next part. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.